everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use blocking wires to give your work a nice straight edge, and it helps you use a lot less pins when you're blocking your work as well. So we're going to assume that you've already soaked your piece and done all that. I have a separate video on how to block, and I will share the links for that below. I'll give tips and things like that on the details of actually soaking your work and drying it and things like that and what to avoid. But for this video, we're going to focus on blocking with just the blocking wires. So if you want to learn how to wet block or steam block, I'll share the links to that below. But we're just going to learn how to use these blocking wires. Now, in my previous video, we did an unboxing of this super flexible knitting blocking wires deluxe set from Lazada's Knitting Accessories. They sent me a set to try, so special thanks to them. And they come coiled up like this, so I undid the little ties holding them together, and I have two here we're going to use today, and there's a bag of pins as well. So we're going to get this piece. I grabbed a piece that I have. This is, as a side note, this is the Philomena Shawlette. This is a free pattern on the Flux blog, and again, I'll put a link down below for that as well. And I also have some blocking mats. Now, you can get fancy blocking mats, but I like to use, they're like mats you would use in the playroom. And if you see on the other side, they're printed with characters on them. So I just flip them over because the front of these is painted, and it's got like this plasticky covering. But the back of them is pretty spongy, and as you can see, I've used these before. They have little tiny holes all over them, and I block things quite a bit. It really straightens your work out, it opens your stitches up, and it makes it grow a little bit too, and it adds some nice drape, and all those beautiful stitches you spend time making, it really highlights them. Okay, so these fit together kind of like a puzzle. I think I'm only going to need two of them. I just grabbed a little stack of them. But we're going to fit our blocking mats together. Now, this piece here I didn't soak. We're just going to pretend that I soaked it already. You can still do the same thing. But I picked something that was a nice long kind of strip of material, not material, but of crochet. So that being said, you can use blocking wires for any of your yarny projects. So get your piece laid out the way you want it. And with these mats, they come as a big set. I think you get like 9 or 12. You get a whole bunch of them. So you can really fit them together. You can make them into a triangle for a shawl or a big rectangle, whatever you're doing. So I just put two together so we can kind of get the idea here. So I have two blocking wires, and these are really neat because you can actually bend these and they will go back to their shape. So let me just grab one of them. And they're nice and thin because sometimes if stuff is too thick, it will kind of distort the fabric. So what we're going to do is just run our blocking wires through the top edge of our work. And this is going to get it nice and straight. It already is pretty straight because of, this is V-stitch that I used for the Philomena Shawlette. So it already is nice and straight. But if we want to open these V's up a little bit, see the difference? We can block our work. Now also, wet blocking works really good for natural materials, but you can also kind of lightly steam block acrylic pieces too, and all the details for that are in my blocking videos. And I'll put the links, like I said before, I'll put the links down below. But what we're doing is we're just running the blocking wire, and there's no real science to this. You just want to make sure you're consistently kind of going in and out, sort of weaving it through the top edge, okay? And these are metal, so they really glide through your work. Okay, so we can just work those in. I'm using my right hand to kind of slowly push, and I'm using my left hand to kind of guide the end of this wire through my work. Okay, so once you get your blocking wire through the edge, we're going to do another one on the bottom edge. Okay, So just continue across with the wire. And again, these are nice and thin so that you can really not, if they're too thick, you could run the risk, especially with really, this is a little bit chunkier, but with some of the really fine sock yarn or lace weight projects, you could really stretch some things out. So you guys kind of get the idea, but you just run it all along the top like that. Now let's do one along the bottom here. I'm just going to slide everything up. I just wanted to get something in the top and something in the bottom. So the bottom kind of works the same way. Now we did the starting chain and worked from the bottom up. So this edge will be a touch different. But what I like to do too is every so often just stop and kind of pull it open a little bit just to see if you're not, you know, missing anything or nothing's bunching up. The name of the game here is to get everything nice and smooth so you can get those stitches opened up, okay? So I'm just going to weave this all the way across. Just like that. Okay, so now, of course, you would want to do it with the whole thing, but I just wanted to show you. So now we have a wire in the top and a wire in the bottom. So then what we can do, now, like I said before, you'll want to run the wire all the way across. But let's grab our pins here. Now this set gives you 60 pins, I believe. The other thing that's neat about blocking wires is you'll use a lot, you may lose them too, like I do, but you'll use a lot less pins with wires because you're just kind of holding the wires in place instead of actually using the pins to hold it back. I'm gonna just put my pins up here. So then all you'll have to do is use the pin to hold it upright. And the blocking wire itself is going to be doing all the work. And if you, with pins, if you've ever blocked anything with just pins, you'll notice sometimes that when you pull, that was the other reason why I didn't want to run it through the whole thing, because I wanted to show you, like sometimes if you're just, like our wire stops here, but sometimes if you're just like pinning something up, see how you get like that, almost like a scallop, you know, with just pins. So the blocking wire really helps establish that nice straight edge. So you can just continue across like that. And then once you've done sufficiently what you need to do, you can bring it back down here. And let me just pull this side too so you can see those V's a little bit better. And then you can just kind of pull down like that. And our blocking wires, again, are doing all of the work. And they're just holding the entire thing as one piece. Now, whenever I block pieces, sometimes you need to rearrange the pins a little bit. And sometimes I like to take my hand and just kind of smooth things out. Sometimes you can get a little bit of tightness in one area. So just try to like smooth everything out like that. And then use your wires, you know, just like that. And we just did the middle section of this, so I also wanted to show you along the bottom here, you know, the difference. So see how this is the part of our piece with no blocking wires, and you can see, let me just turn it up a little bit. You can see how much it opened, how much open this side looks versus this side. Now this side still looks very beautiful, and sometimes I choose not to block my pieces. But if you want to open up your stitches, these wires are a wonderful way to get a nice smooth edge along the tops and bottom, and you can really see how much it can grow as well. And you really get a nice display of all those V's in this case. And I use variegated yarn, so you can really see all those colors too start to open up and come to life. So the other thing about blocking is you can block even more if you like. So let's shift this down. We'll pull these pins out. Now I just went kind of the width of my board, but if you add another blocking board in here, now let me move some of this out of the way, but if you add another blocking board to the bottom, And I got a pin stuck here. Okay, there we go. But if you add another blocking board and make it a little bit wider, you could even take your piece even, now let's see, they fit like a puzzle. There we go. I haven't done puzzles in many years, but you can block things even harder. So you can really play around with that. And with blocking wires, instead of using just the pins, you can still have the ability to maintain that really nice straight edge, even if you're blocking it, you know, pretty hard if you need to do that. Like sometimes I've finished a piece and for some reason it's a little more shrunken than I wanted it to look. So I had to, like, you know, take it back a little bit farther. But let's look at our handiwork here, because I pulled it down even more. I may have done it even a little bit too much, but I just wanted to kind of show you in a more dramatic way. But actually, my tripod is interfering with this blocking mat, so I'm going to turn it. But you can see just how much, you know, you can open this up, okay? And we still have, well, I need to probably adjust this pin. That's a pin problem, not a blocking wire problem. But you can see just how much, you know, you can open up your project. Now look at the difference now. This is just laying here. This is held with the blocking wires. Now obviously I'm probably putting a little bit of stress right here, but just for demonstrate. Now if we were to block that, it would pull it down in a straight line. But just for demonstration purposes, you can see the difference of how it works. Now watch this. Once we undo it, that's why when you soak it, you want to let it fully dry overnight. So it's bone dry, so there's absolutely no moisture, because when you unpin it, it'll just kind of pop back into its original shape. But if you've soaked it, you know, and then when you're done, you just pull the pins out. Now this is where, again, we're pretending we've soaked it and it's blocked and everything, but you can pull the wires right out. They slip right out. They're very smooth, and you know, your piece will be ready to go. Now, anytime you launder your piece, you'll have to go through the blocking process again, because anytime you get your fibers wet, you know, they'll kind of crunch back up. So that is how you use blocking wires. Again, the full blocking, the steps prior to this, the full blocking tutorial links I'll put below, both for steam blocking and wet blocking, where you submerge the piece and soak it. So check that out. And also, if you like the free pattern for this, I'll put the link to that below. It's a fully written pattern and the full video tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.